Good morning. Plato's Gorgias, Day 3. Socrates speaking. Let us take once more the same art as we discussed just now. Arithmetic and the arithmetician teach us, do they not, the properties of a number? Gorgias. Certainly. And consequently persuade us? Yes. Then arithmetic is also a creator of persuasion. Evidently. Now, if anyone should ask us what kind of persuasion and in what field, we shall answer him, I suppose, that which teaches about the odd and the even in all their quantities. And we shall be able to prove that all the other arts just mentioned are creators of persuasion and have the name, the type, and the field, shall we not? Yes. The odd and the even, that sounds like a very good description of people. Someone should write a play about that. The odd and the even. Yes. Then rhetoric is not rhetoric is not the only creator of persuasion. That is true. Then since other arts besides rhetoric produces this result, we should be justified in asking next, as in the case of the painter, of what kind of persuasion is rhetoric the art, and what is its province? Do you not think that it is a fair question to ask next? I do. Then answer, Gorgias, since you share my opinion. The kind of persuasion employed in the law courts and other gatherings, Socrates, as I said just now, and concerned with right and wrong. I suspected too, Gorgias, that you meant this kind of persuasion, with such a province. It is merely that you may not be surprised if a little later I ask you the same kind of question, though the answer seems clear to me. Yet I may repeat it, for, as I said, I am questioning you, not for your own sake, but in order that the argument may be carried forward consecutively, and that we may not form the habit of suspecting and anticipating each other's views, but that you may complete your own statements as you please, in accordance with your initial plan. I think your method is right, Socrates. Why? Why does Socrates question rhetoric so intensely? Does it have any point, any meaning? Socrates speaking. Then let us consider the next point. Is there a state which you called having learned? There is. And such a thing as having believed? There is. Now, do you think that to have learned and to have believed, or knowledge and belief, are one and the same, or different? I consider them different, Socrates. You are right, and you can prove it thus. If anybody were to say to you, can there be both a false belief and a true, Gorgias, you would, I think, say that there is. Yes. But can there be both a false and a true knowledge? By no means. Gnosis, I suspect. I don't think it's pistio to believe, to have faith. I will check that as well. Believed. Then it is obvious that knowledge and belief are not the same. You are right. But both those who have learned and those who believe have been persuaded. That is so. Good point. Shall we lay it down then that there are two forms of persuasion, the one producing belief without knowledge, the other knowledge? Certainly. Now, which kind of conviction about right and wrong is produced in the law courts and other gatherings by rhetoric? That which issues in belief without knowledge, or that which issues in knowledge? Something is popping up in my head that John said in one of his After Socrates videos, that Socrates believed in order to be virtuous is to have true knowledge of virtue. But that is very elusive knowledge, to know. Evidently, Socrates, that which issues in belief. So rhetoric cannot teach true knowledge, only belief. Then rhetoric apparently is the creator of a conviction that is persuasive but not instructive about right and wrong. Oh, very, very interesting. A creator of a conviction that is persuasive but not instructive about right or wrong. That is very deep. To persuade one but not to instruct one. Yes, then the rhetorician too does not instruct courts and other assemblies about right or wrong, but is able only to persuade them. For surely he could not instruct so large a gathering in a short time about matters so important. So this is the bullshit argument popping up, I think. The technical term. No, indeed. Well then, let us see just exactly what we are saying about rhetoric, for I cannot myself yet understand what I mean. Whenever there is a gathering in the city to choose doctors or shipwrights or any other professional group, surely the rhetorician will not then give his advice. For it is obvious that in each such choice, it is the real expert who must be selected. And when it is a question about the building of walls or equipment of harbors or dockyards, we consult not the rhetorician, but the master builders. And again, when we need advice about a choice of generals or some tactical formation against the enemy, or the occupation of positions, military experts will advise us, not rhetoricians. Or what do you say, Gorgias, about such matters? Hierarchy through expertise. Since you claim yourself to be a rhetorician, and to make rhetoricians of others, it is right to examine you on the qualities of your art. And so imagine that my interest is on your behalf, for perhaps some of those present are anxious to become your disciples. There are some I know, quite a number, in fact, who would be bashful perhaps about questioning you. And so just imagine that when I inquire, they too are asking, what shall we gain, Gorgias, if we associate with you? On what subjects shall we be able to advise the city? About right and wrong alone, or the subjects just mentioned by Socrates? Interesting question to ask yourself. What will others gain if they associate with me? What makes your presence worthwhile to pursue? How would others grow through being intimate with you? Try to answer them then. Gorgias speaks. Well, Socrates, I will try to reveal to you clearly the full scope of rhetoric, for you have shown me the path excellently. You know, of course, that your dockyards and the walls of Athens and her harbour equipment are due to the advice partly of Thesmocles, partly of Pericles, not to that of architects. That is what they say, Gorgias, but Thesmocles and Pericles I myself heard when he recommended the building of the middle wall. And when any of the choices you mentioned just now is in question, Socrates, you see that it is the orators who give advice and carry their emotions. I imagine these two men were politically important. That is what surprises me, Gorgias, and what is why I ask you long since what is the scope of rhetoric. When so looked at it, it seems to me to possess almost superhuman importance. There is something superhuman in the power to persuade, dangerously superhuman. If only you knew all, Socrates, and realized that rhetoric includes practically all other faculties under her control. And I will give you good proof of this. I have often, along with my brother and with other physicians, visited one of their patients who refused to drink his medicine or submit to the surgeon's knife or cautery, and when the doctor was unable to sway them, I did so, by no other art but rhetoric. And I claim too that if a rhetorician and a doctor visited any city you like to name, and they had to contend in argument before the assembly, or any other gathering as to which of the two should be chosen as doctor, the doctor would be nowhere, but the man who could speak would be chosen. This is a terrible thing, if he so wished. And if he should compete against any other craftsman whatever, the rhetorician, rather than any other, would persuade the people to choose him. So the one without any knowledge of what is actually going on, but the ability to speak properly, persuasively, is chosen to make the decisions. Sounds familiar? For there is no subject on which a rhetorician would not speak more persuasively than any other craftsman before a crowd. Such then is the scope and character of rhetoric. But it should be used, Socrates, like every other competitive art. We must not employ other competitive arts against one and all merely because we have learned boxing or mixed fighting or weapon combat, so that we are stronger than our friends and foes. We must not, I say, for this reason, strike our friends or wound or kill them. No, indeed, and if a man who is physically sound has attended the wrestling school and has become a good boxer, and then strikes his father or mother or any others of his kinship or friends, we must not for this reason detest or banish from our cities the physical trainers or drill instructors. Good point. For they imparted this instruction for just employment against enemies or wrongdoers, in self-defense, not aggression. But such people perversely employ their strength and skills in the wrong way. And so the teachers are not guilty, and the craft is not for this reason evil or to blame, but rather, in my opinion, those who make improper use of it. And the same argument applies also to rhetoric. The rhetorician is competent to speak against anybody on any subject and to prove himself more convincing before a crowd on practically every topic he wishes. But he should not any the more rob the doctors or any other craftsman either of their reputation, merely because he has this power. With great power comes great responsibility. One should make proper use of rhetoric as of athletic gifts. And if a man becomes a rhetorician and makes a wrongful use of his faculty and craft, you must not, in my opinion, detest and banish his teacher from the city, for he imparted it for a good use, but the pupil abuses it. And therefore it is the man who abuses it who we should rightly detest and banish and put to death, not his instructor. Tot sover ons skriflesing.